It just dropped on HBO Max and in theaters. And since I am still sick, I watched it on HBO Max because I can't make it out to the theaters. And I really want to watch this movie because I'm a tremendous fan of Frank Herbert's Dune series of books. Um, so let's talk about this film. I really liked it for the most part. That being said, this movie is not a good movie. And it should have never been made into a movie. And what I mean by that is, I'm not. See, most reviews, I don't compare things to the book, so don't expect that kind of thing. Yes, I've read the book. Yes, I'm a fan of the book. But I'm judging this as a film. And as a film, this just doesn't work. The film is beautifully shot, has beautiful cinematography, beautiful effects, gorgeous landscapes. The world feels really cool and lived in and interesting. That being said, I don't give a shit about any of it because, first of all, this movie is very reliant on it being a part one, which I don't mind that. But what it does, but what it takes out of the story to be a part one is it shows you this world, the conflict, what's going on, but doesn't give you any characters to attach onto. Things happen to characters in this movie. I'm sitting there going, I don't give a shit. I didn't know that character. He died. Oh well. Like, it feels a lot like that. And I like this movie. Okay, like I think there are a lot of people who are watching this movie getting enjoyment out of it, and I agree, and I think that's cool. I'm not trying to, ruin people's fun with this movie. My issue with this film boils down to is just an issue I have with a lot of Hollywood movies like this. It's a film that should have never been made into a film. This is a movie that should have been a TV show. Because basically all my issues would have been solved. We don't know this film's going to get a part two. We didn't know the Golden Compass was going to get a part two. We didn't know Harry Potter was going to get part two. If you really think about it, Harry Potter was lucky it even got sequels. Because most of these films, based on books, don't get sequels. And also, most of them suck. Why? Not just because they don't adapt the books very well, but because they can't be paced very well. And they have to condense all this information down to fit 2 hours of running time. And I'm sitting here going, why not adapt this into a TV show? We're at the point now where we can have Game of Thrones level budgets on TV shows and be successful. Could you imagine this movie, the same movie, being the same level as Game of Thrones, but on TV? And then, there's episodes exploring each character. You get an episode about Jason Momoa's character, right? It may not have been the same cast, which I'm okay with. I see the cast in this movie is really good, but they weren't like, oh, that's the only Paul that can exist. Oh, that's the only Duncan Idaho that can exist. Like, they were good at what they did, but someone else could have played those parts on TV and it would have been fine. So I think this is a case of where I'm getting pissed off with these movies. They just should not exist as movies because it's not the best way to adapt the story that they're adapting. Because again, I liked a lot of what's going on in this movie with the world and stuff, but a lot of it, my enjoyment also comes down to I enjoyed the cinematography, I enjoyed how the film looked and how well the film was paced, the music was good, and I've read the book, so I kind of know what's happening. I know a lot of the details. But someone who doesn't, they don't give a shit about this. And the reality is, I want someone who isn't a fan of the books to be able to watch this and go, yeah, that's a pretty good movie. I want to check out these books. But they're not going to do that because they don't get a sense for what the books are like. They get a sense for what this world is like and kind of some ideas from the book, but they don't get a sense of what makes this book good, like the characters, any of that stuff. Normal people aren't going to give a shit about what this is. I'm not saying this is a terrible film, because it isn't. It has a lot of great qualities. I mean, this movie has incredible performances from the cast and stuff, but I just didn't give a flying shit about anything that happened in it because frankly, the movie never gave me a reason to ever care about what's happening here, what's going on with these characters, what they're doing, what their goals are, any of that stuff. Didn't give me a single reason to care. And that was a big issue with this film. Big issue. And, I don't want to say that to be overly harsh to this film because, I still really enjoyed this film. I still liked a lot of what it was doing here with this film, but it's just a matter of like, it's just dumb to adapt books like this, you know? Especially when they're not going to do it the Lord of the Rings method, where they shot all three films back to back. We don't know if this is going to get a sequel. I did read an article somewhere said that this made a $70 million opening worldwide, which is a pretty good opening for a movie during pandemic times. But that wasn't in the States. So, who knows? I hope we do. I hope there is an audience for this film. Do I think there is? No. I think there's a select audience like who will love something like this. But this isn't like Blade Runner 2049 where he directed a movie, he does interesting things with the characters and the world and the universe of that movie. He does cool, interesting things with the world of Dune, but nothing interesting with the characters. Because frankly, there isn't characters in this movie. There's just nothing that happens throughout most of this film involving characters. Besides Paul, I guess, slowly becoming a leader. But like, that's not really something where you'd have to show Paul's character throughout that. Because it doesn't really go, what does Paul feel about this? Does Paul want to be a leader? I mean, you get hints of that, but you don't really know. And I think that hurt this film. Yeah, it's interesting. I guess I'm in the minority than a lot of critics, because most of the critics I've seen review this movie have been like hella positive about it. And I'm not, even though I'm fan of the books. So I don't know. I'm in the minority here, but let me know what you guys thought of Dune down in the comments down below.